The Yeti store has so many great gifts, we had to hire a cattle auctioneer to make the most of these next 30 seconds.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take your steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store at Tyson's Corner Center today.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Hey Giants fans, this is Chris Franklin from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to the Talk is Cheap podcast, the show where we discuss all things related to the New York Giants. Now before we begin, I wanted to remind you that you can read our content on NJ.com/Giants, and make sure to bookmark that to get the latest Giants news and analysis. Well, if you haven't been under a rock, the Giants made a franchise-altering move this week, the one that kind of surprised everybody with the way it went down. Not surprised what happened, but the way it went down in terms of Daniel Jones. And we're going to focus a lot on that today. And to do that, I have Ryan Novozinsky here, one of the Giants beat writers for NJ.com. Ryan, how are you doing? And yeah, pretty busy week for you, huh?
Dude, this week was the longest year of my life. That's all I got to say, right? Man, no, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I'm doing good though. I just can't wait to get to the actual football now.
Yeah, with all that stuff that was going on, I mean, with Daniel Jones finally being benched, we kind of thought that was going to happen after the bye. We could actually just get into that right now for it. Were you surprised at it took so long to bench him and have him and put somebody else in?
At first, yes. So kind of to recap how it all went down. So on Monday they benched him, right? And pretty inexplicably, they put DeVito as the starter instead of Drew Lock. Drew Lock was the backup all season long, but by then, you're already seeing that okay, they're keeping Lock as the backup. So it's right now the hierarchy, or at least on Monday, it was Tommy DeVito number 1, Drew Lock number 2, Daniel Jones number 3. Okay, then the next day they signed Tim Boyle. So and Daniel Jones is at practice, and he's pretty much just has his hand shoved in his hand warmer there. So it's like, all right, like clearly this guy is the 4th quarterback. Like clearly something is brewing here. Clearly, they're worried about this injury guarantee, even if it happens in an off-field thing, which it could have done. Like he could have dropped a dumbbell on his toe, and if he didn't pass a physical by March 1st, then it would have it would have clearly they would have been on the hook for 23 million or 11 million or whatever it was. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So basically, they were obviously worried about all that. So my big thing was, hey, let's just do what the Raiders did with Derek Carr, right? Where they pretty much just say, sayonara, goodbye, you're out of our facilities. Your key will not work. Daniel Jones's key should not have worked come Wednesday, okay? But instead of doing that, they dragged out this process, right? Now, later on, we found out, somebody reported, I think the New York Post reported it, that it would have had to have been Jones that approached the Giants with that decision. But even still, Jones, you gotta maybe start doing that, dude. Like clearly, the future was not, gonna work out there. Clearly, both parties kind of, or I guess Jones kind of wanted to come back, but clearly the Giants were done. So Jones should have had the foresight to, sit there and go up to Mara on Tuesday or Wednesday and say, look, this is just gonna turn into a sideshow. Like I've been here 6 years. Everyone talked about how much they love Jones this week, and that's fine. Like all the players, at least, not the fans. But why would Jones kind of I just don't understand you probably should have been released maybe earlier this week. That's just me. Go find yourself an opportunity. Go do that. Some team will sign him. Jones wants to play. We will see, and I'm sure we'll get to that, Chris, just who that might be. But yeah,
Yeah,
to answer your question, I am stunned. I think this was played out poorly. Like, and then for Dayball to sit there and say at the end of the week, "Oh, we didn't expect this outcome." How did you not expect this outcome? I expected this outcome. Anybody could have expected this outcome. I have a lot to say, Chris.
So how do you really feel right now? I was kidding. But and we're looking at this right now in terms of you mentioned this, and I'm going to get to that right now. For it, they skipped Drew Lock to go to Tommy DeVito, and Tommy DeVito, we all know he had that run last season, gave him a little spark and added some interest back into this Giants team that was floundering at the same time last year. But why not Drew Lock? Why do you think? Why do you think they went with him? And why do you think if you're Drew Lock, what are you doing from here on out?
My first inkling was, all right, they did this to save, hundreds of thousands of dollars because Spot Rack put out, this thing that Locke. I honestly, to tell you the truth, Chris, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact numbers, but Locke would have to go off, like, in order to get the incentives, and the Giants would have been on the hook for more money. But when you first see this tweet that he put out there, you're thinking to yourself, oh crap, like, the Giants are doing the cheap ownership here. They strike again, right? But you kind of dive deeper into it, and I'm kind of stalling right now as they try to pull this up. Um, it, be- you know,
$3
it
billion he would have got made if he got with the incentives, if he
exactly,
hit all of them.
but he would have had to 65% completion rating, 92.5 passer rating. Um, let's see, 88 passer rating and plus 15 touchdowns. That's another 250,000. 88 passer rating and 2,000 passing yards. If Drew Lock did that in the last 7 weeks here, and by the way, there's also the million incentive, the team incentive, which is 55% of the snaps plus a playoff berth. If Drew Lock did that, he is the MVP. Okay, he's the MVP of all MVPs, and not just that, he is. The Giants have the franchise quarterback. There you go. That was my first inkling. Then you read into it, obviously, and you see, okay, that's not the case. Drew Lock. Then my thought was, all right, Drew Lock must have been terrible in practice. He must have been Nate Peterman throwing 5 first half picks, 2017 level bad, right?
Yeah.
Um, my next inkling, Chris, was, and this is kind of where I've landed on, is all right. Drew Lock probably is like on par or same skill level as Tommy DeVito, but Drew Lock doesn't have a contract past this year. And the Giants are kind of seeing what they have in DeVito because one, he's not. I mean, he kind of is a free agent. But he's restricted, I believe. Tommy DeVito, they can get him back easily next year, right? They are taking a flyer to see just what we have in this DeVito kid because he did obviously show glimpses last year. Although the Giants defense did have 12 takeaways in his 3 wins. And they have 8 takeaways this year. That's just a side note. So that's not happening this year. But apparently, according to the quarterback coach, he's looks a lot more poised in practice. This is even before the Jones benching. He said this. He looks a lot more understanding of the offense. Offense looks a little bit different this year under Dayball, with Dayball calling the plays. They're just kind of seeing what the young kid can do because we've kind of seen what Drew Lock can do as a starter, and it's not great, right? But he definitely has won some games. He beat the Eagles, like you said a couple podcasts ago, Chris. But we just kind of got to see what they have in Drew Lock, right? And that or sorry, in Tommy DeVito because he's a younger guy. You can get him back on the team next year. Maybe he could be the backup. Maybe he could be the bridge for if they deem Cam Ward or Shador Sanders not ready enough. I don't know, but I've landed on that. At first, I thought it was a monetary thing. Then I thought it was, oh man, Locke must be terrible. And now I just think it's Locke is the same level of skill as DeVito, but they're going with the younger guy.
And when I look at DeVito's game and that whole Lock thing, I think, okay, I get why they want to go with DeVito. I get he's a younger guy and stuff like that. But if you're Lock, I think it's going to send a bad message to some of these other quarterbacks that potentially could go there.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look, it's like, hey, okay, you go to number 2, you skip over that. Why did you sign me here? What was I even part of the plans? What have you? And yeah, sorry, you can stink. But like, why have number 2? Why not make him the number 3 or whatever, and just change stuff around like that? I think that's a worry at that. We'll talk about free agents later on in the show. But then you look at DeVito, and I see the way he plays, and that it gives you a little bit of spark. Teams got to book with him, and I mean, last year when you look at what he did, I mean, 64% completion percentage, 1,101 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much because teams hadn't figured him out yet. And now you see a couple of times now, I think teams a year they could go look at that tape, try to craft some of those defenses against them. It might be a little tough on there. And I understand, like, hey, if there's interest again, maybe people start buying whatever stuff for merchandise, whatever the Giants have. But it's kind of like they put themselves in a bad position. And you're looking into this draft. So it's going to be pretty interesting in terms of that. Now, Daniel Jones sitting out there as mentioned as a free agent. It was clear nobody's going to claim him. Nobody's going to want him on that contract. If they do, I think the only person I can see doing the only person right now I can see doing something like that asinine would be Jerry Jones.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Well,
I shouldn't say nobody.
Oh, I just want to
Steven needs to take the phone away from right now and disconnect everything. What terms of that? But in terms of signing with a team, who do you think he'll wind up playing for or dressing for this season?
I've done some thinking on this. Here's my 2 top contenders, right? I think there's going to be a lot of teams that, are actually do take a flyer, that are going to want to take a flyer on Jones, right? But in the here and now, I got to go with, and there are 2 pretty different, obviously, scenarios. It's the Titans at 2-8, right? And I only say that because Brian Callahan right now is dealing with a quarterback room of Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. And, that's not to say Daniel Jones is a world beater. By no means is he. But this is a guy that won a playoff game last year or 2 years ago. And he's obviously, Daniel Jones this year, we've ragged on him a lot, in writing and in the show and everything like that. But Daniel Jones has certainly shown some glimpses this year. And that's, maybe they just kind of want to, it's maybe just like a last ditch effort before it's like, all right, look, we know that we're probably going to take a quarterback, in the draft anyway, the Titans are. However, maybe we just kind of see what we got. Like if maybe Jones in the last 7 games could put them on a run or something like that. Not to say it's going to be a playoff run by no means, but it's just taking a flyer, right? And Jones was willing to waive his injury clause or his injury guarantee to join this crappy Giants team, to go back there. So I don't know, man. You see it sometimes with Brian Callahan, how the reactions that he has in dealing with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, and you're like, oh man, please get me somebody, right? Now, if it's a playoff team, there are 2 options that I could see, and these teams are not, I don't think, in the playoff picture quite there, but they are right above, hovering below that Mendoza line. They're right in the cusp, right? They're in the hunt. It's the Miami Dolphins, and it is the San Francisco 49ers, okay? Miami, pretty self-explanatory. Tua's always injured. Tua always leads with his head, seemingly. You got to have some Tua assurance that isn't Snoop Huntley, right? Secondly, with San Francisco, as you saw, oh my gosh, who's starting for them this week? It's not Dobbs. They just announced Brandon Allen. Yeah, it's Brandon Allen. You can't tell me that Daniel Jones is worse than Brandon Allen. Come on.
Just kidding.
I'm not saying they'll claim him and then start him on Sunday. They can't even do that because he doesn't go to waivers till Monday. But depending on how serious this Purdy injury is, and if he's missing a game, a pretty crucial game against this Packers team, it sounds like it could be, then I would say that they could use some quarterback help, right? They're a team that they're pretty seemingly have PTSD from that. What was it 2023 NFC Championship game where they had Josh Johnson in a quarterback against the Eagles? This is a
that was
team that
horrible.
they like to have a 4-deep quarterback room if they can. And for Jones, it would benefit him, right? Because not only would he potentially have the chance to play, but you go to the Shanahan quarterback, rehab basically. It's like when you become like a special assistant at Alabama, It's like, you were a terrible coach, and then you go under Nick Saban, and then, oh wow, like West Virginia wants to hire you or someone like that, right? Like magically. So
Oh,
yeah,
Loxley.
that's what I think. I think, put him there. It's like, you get the Sam Darnold treatment, and then the Giants would just regret it. I really wanted it to be the Cowboys, Chris. I'll tell you what, but Stephen Jones did say no. So
Oh, that would have been great, especially if it was able to do it for Thursday. Oh,
oh,
that would have been great.
I
DeVito
was, dude, I
versus
was like
Daniel
almost
Jones.
banking on that. I was like, oh my God, this Thursday trip's gonna be fun now.
And then the fact, can you imagine if the Giants won it and it gives them a worse draft pick? All that stuff
Cool.
was just it's just fun to watch from the outside in terms of that. And now I was looking at the two teams I was really looking at, and they're based off of Daniel Jones' skill set
Yeah,
and good opportunities for him. He does fit the Shanahan type scheme.
sure
That
does.
that, that whole they for it, the Shanahan, Kubiak, what have you, mobile guy. He benefits from just not really thinking, just going 1, 2, 3 out. He can get it accurately at times. So I feel you have some skill sets there. The two teams, you mentioned one of them, the 49ers, because I look at that situation and you also got to think Purdy, he's going to be up for some big money pretty soon. And maybe you see, okay, maybe if Daniel Jones can come in there and light a spark, get them to the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game if that happens. Maybe all of a sudden you have a good quarterback controversy. Maybe you have something like that. So I think that's one team you could look at. The other one, it's a little weird one, and it'll be fun, I think, from a New York standpoint, because you'd have two former New York
Oh,
quarterbacks up there, the Vikings.
there you go. Yeah,
Because
I thought you were gonna say the Jets. I was like, oh my God.
oh, please no, that team needs to. That speaking of Viking, that team needs to have a Viking funeral in itself. That's just done in terms of that. But you look at the way that the Vikings, they're able to. The Sam Darnold is starting to revert back to the old Sam Darnold, and yeah, he's turning the ball over left and right, and they need a better back. I think they need some depth there, and it wouldn't hurt to do that. Darnold, I think, it's a 1-year deal for him, so you gotta. It wouldn't hurt to see what you have there. Maybe you see, like, hey, you get if Kevin O'Connell survives this, well, he should survive the season, what have you, because I know you got JJ McCarthy still waiting there as well too. But maybe you use him as JJ McCarthy's backup or as a bridge as McCarthy recovers, and then you move him that way. So it's a lot of options that they have available to him in terms of that.
Dude, they're
To go with.
like, and they're like weirdly like, 49. I can't even say East. I guess East, right? East of San Francisco, but like they're like turning into 49ers East because like they're, they have these quarterbacks that are seemingly like on the surface are just like bad, right? But they're
Yeah,
just getting worse, right? Like Darnold and O'Connell, like what he's been able to do there. He's like one of my favorite coaches in the league, I think. Like, my God, man, if the Giants do move on, and I'm sure we'll get to that too, like find whoever the next Kevin O'Connell is, man.
yeah, that they would need that, and I guess we'll end the Daniel Jones autopsy show here when it comes to that. What do you think overall legacy? Do you think that the Giants failed him, or is mostly on him that he didn't do as well in that?
Um, there's definitely a little bit of both, right? There's blame pie on both ends, right? The Giants should have had a better line. They should have had more weapons for him. At the same time, Daniel Jones had 6 years to prove himself, right? He had the 2023 outlier or 2022 outlier. There's no doubt. But man, you know, this guy had so many chances, and he just, turned into a complete dud. I mean, it looked like a bad decision from the get go, right? You had guys, I think it was at the time, it was either Todd McShay or one of these. I think it was like Joel Klatt. It was one of these draft guys, right, or one of these college football guys that said, "Oh man, no, this is a backup quarterback at his ceiling." Like, um, and then Gettleman sits there and says, "Yeah, ask me in 3 years, and then we'll see how crazy I am." Well, 3 years after that, they make the playoffs, so I guess it didn't look too crazy. But man, the 2 years after that have been just all sorts of terrible. I mean, just this. I think there's, again, equal parts blame, but I'm almost leaning more towards Jones because I just don't think he was good. Um, and I guess to that point, though, it really is. It's like Schrodinger's Jones. Like, it's crazy. It's like it's
Oh,
you
that's a
know.
good one.
I don't know, man.
That sounds like a great spinoff podcast. Schrodinger's Jones. That's
Yes.
great. That's perfect.
So yeah, I
because the Giants drafted him in the first place. So it's his fault. It's not his fault for that, but I don't know, man. It's both their faults. They're both terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. And I guess we'll look at the future now. So we know obviously that they're going to be in the quarterback market. Who do you think? I know it's still early in the draft process, but are there any play? I know, and it's still also we don't know whether Brian Dable is going to be there, so the system kind of dictates who the quarterback's going to be. But say that Dable stays for the next year somehow, who do you think would be a couple good quarterbacks that could fit his scheme? And do you think there's who would be a good bridge free agent quarterback to help out?
Man, it's an interesting question because it almost seems like right now you just keep looking at this quarterback class and it is it is bleak, man. Um, my hottest take about this Giants team is that if they cannot get Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, who they might not be willing to take the risk on, um, they should not draft a quarterback in the first round. You got to get one of those two guys because I feel like the other guys are just guys that are just going to lose you a GM's job or a coach's job. Now, as far as bridges go, I like fun bridges, right? Like I think with the rookie quarterback because I think either way, especially if Joe Shane is back as GM, they're going to pick a quarterback in the first round. Like so, punt my hot take right there, out of it, right? Because they're going to do it, even if it's not the smartest thing for the franchise. You build the offense, you fine tune the offense at least if you're Dayball around that guy, right? But also having more of a pro style because you can't really have like this shotgun, like just finger guns kind of offense in the NFL. It usually doesn't work out. See Cliff Kingsbury, right? You got to have more
So
pro
yeah.
style. So I would just say the smartest thing to do is to get one of those two guys, tweak the offense around them, get a bridge quarterback who kind of fits their play style too. I guess the best names out there are not to say that these are necessarily their play styles by any mean, but I like Justin Fields. I think that would be fun kind of thing, right? Like you at least it's another lottery ticket, right? Um, Sam Darnold certainly sounds like he's a guy that's going to get paid this offseason, right? So I don't think he's really an option there. Jacoby Brissett, he did the bridge thing in New England, though it was kind of terrible, but he still won 2 games for them. Um, I don't know, man, but my biggest worry is that Mara's going to say, all right, we're bringing back Shane and Dayball. Then Shane and Dayball pick a quarterback to save their job security. And they reach on a quarterback because, let's say, DeVito wins 2 more games down the stretch here and the other teams around him don't. And then it just becomes this is literally a repeat of it's like Groundhog's Day, dude. It's like a repeat of 2019. This is the same exact problem that got you, Jones. There are so many other issues on this team. Corner, are you kidding me? So many other issues on this team that need to be addressed, and they're just going to reach on a quarterback that they obviously need, but uh, I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's really something I've been pondering for a while here.
It's really bad, and it's tough to look at things. But the name I'm looking at, and you mentioned some really good ones. The name I'm looking at, he's kind of stuck in a bad position right now with another bad team, so I guess he's used to it. It's Andy Dalton. And I don't know how
Mm.
much longer he wants to play, but I look at him. He's done as best as he can with Bryce Young, but we just saw what Bryce Young pretty much is at this point. So he's done the best he can. He's already played the role of backup mentor. He when he's in there, he's been okay, which you're not looking for your bridge quarterback to be the next to be your franchise guy, but you look for somebody just wants to be able to hold his fort down for a little bit, teach the young guy the offense, give him some pointers how to read the coverages, be good in the QB room, what have you. And I think Dalton really fits that. You'd only have to sign up for 1 year. And I think it'll be relatively cheap because like Brissett's a really good for a backup quarterbacks. He's like one of the pantheons in terms of like in recent memory because not only does he do okay in terms of
Hmm.
like being a bridge guy, he makes so much money, like $8-9 million a year. Like,
Exactly.
geez almighty. So I think Dalton could come in a little bit less there. You could save some money, maybe get whoever was the quarterback some more weapons, what have you. And you're all with that, but the picking is. We're looking at this, and the new. I don't know how Shane survives. Honestly, I do, especially with the way everything rolled out, with the way the free. I don't know how he survives in terms of this, and if that happens, then we know Dable's probably going. But in the case, they're gonna let him pick a new quarterback. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. So bad.
Again, man, I'll say right here and now, like I think, we see a lot of these botched decisions, and you see a lot of this on game day. I think Daboll's a good coach. I think it would be a mistake letting him go. I still do, even with all this stuff that's happened this year. Um, Shane's the one that built the team. There's only really so much that this guy could do, and we saw what he could do in 2022 with better players. Man, there's a lot of crap on this team right now. Like I don't know, man. Like I still think that Daboll leaving and getting a second opportunity, he'll probably he'll probably be like Drake May's OC or something like that next year or whatever. Then teams will say, oh yeah, Daboll can do this. Maybe we'll be a good team and hire Daboll as our coach. I don't know, man. I just think it would be a big mistake, but I think they're going to do it. I really do. It's starting to get to that point.
Well, ask you this question to bounce off of that. If you're going to use Dable, do you think you give him like or almost like the Belichickian type role where he's the main guy, you do it, and then you get him a player personnel guy? You think he's born at that cachet where he remains the coach, he has some type of say in the personnel, but you have a player personnel that basically answers to him in terms of that to try to build what he wants to see.
I think that'd be smart. I think it'd be very smart. Now, do I think that'll happen? No, I don't, and that's because look, right now it's so unpredictable what's happening with this organization here, man. Like I just I have no idea what the outcome's going to be here, and it doesn't seem like they have. It seems like they have little faith in both their guys right now, Shane and Dable. Um, Even with that vote of confidence. Again, I just this is just me talking because clearly my thoughts don't really align with John Mara's. It's just I think it'd just be a huge mistake. And should they give him that role? Absolutely, they should do that thing where they bring in more, have him have more say, and let him be more of a conduit kind of thing to whoever the new guy personnel wise would be. Shane has whiffed on too many drafts here, man. So I don't know. It's just yeah, to me, it's not going to happen. I think you're going to see two firings at the end of this season, and whew, is that good? Or that is not a good thing to me.
No, and I feel sorry for you too because you got to cover that New Orleans thing. So sorry, man. Sorry in terms of that. But no, I know you guys are going to do. You and Daryl Slater are going to do a great job in terms of that. Final question. There is actually a game this week. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
the Tommy DeVito led Giants are going to go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What are your thoughts on the game, and what do you think the outcome's going to be?
I think Tampa might win by 50.
50 burger?
Oh, dude, man, this is you get a motivated Sterling Shepard, you get Mike Evans returning, you get Baker, who I really like, and then you get a Todd Bowles defense, which hasn't been like numbers wise hasn't been incredible this year, but you get a lot of pressure there on DeVito in this in an offensive line that's still pretty rattled, and with the Thomas injury, and I think this is all just. It all sounds like a blowout, Chris. A distracted team that, they're not going to say they're distracted, but they're distracted. This is not going to end well on Sunday. This is a Buccaneers team that almost beat the Saints, almost beat the Falcons, almost beat the who'd they lose to? The Ravens. All these games pretty closely, right? 49ers last week. I think that they're just going to roll over them. Now, you might see this like little DeVito run kind of thing. Like that might, I could see that starting next week when they play Dallas. They play Dallas and then they play New Orleans, right? So if there's going to be a quasi DeVito Tommy Cutlets run again, it's going to be that 2-game stretch. but I don't think it turns into a 3-game stretch with starting this Sunday. I think Tampa Bay is just going to roll them.
Yeah, you made a good point in terms of especially when you talked about that short week because they had to start. Imagine all this going on, and yeah, because they have that Thursday game, they started introducing some of the Cowboys' game plan in terms of that,
Mm-hmm.
along with this Buccaneers thing. So you had all this stuff. You had to basically concentrate on two teams, worried about playing two games in a short span, and you got all the quarterback stuff and going on in there.
Yeah.
I can see this happening. I see Dexter Lawrence getting a sack. He's going to do some tribute to Daniel Jones and blah 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 have you. And I think they're going to be the game's going to be close, probably at the half. I think because I think there'll be a spark. They'll want to try to. Yeah. Then after I think the Bucks just run away with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if a 50 burger is going to be up. I can see it being something like 34.
Well,
I can see like
the 50 was a little hyperbolic, I will say.
okay, all right, cool. I was like, hold on, gosh, I can see that. I love to see the camera reactions on the bench if that happened. Or that, like, what are we doing here? What are the combos like? But I think it could be something like 34-17. Maybe like, heck, I could even see it be like 27-17.
Mm-hmm.
I think they get that short term burst, that short term jolt from DeVito, and after that,
An
the odds
actual
being in their
score
favor.
prediction for me is I think we're talking 28. I'll give them 28-6. They make 2 field goals. They don't get a touchdown.
Oh no! Oh, sorry for Tommy Cutlets. It's well, Ryan, I appreciate you. Thank you very, very much for coming on, especially after a very hectic week. I appreciate that coming on, and I think everybody's listening to that will appreciate you as well too. Make sure to read Ryan and Daryl's stuff on NJ.com/Giants. They'll have more as this continuing situation with the Giants quarterback, the Giants franchise, and the important decisions that are coming down the pike. They'll have all that stuff with the latest news, analysis, and everything. So for Ryan, I'm Chris. Everybody have a good one. See ya.